especially for kids. It's a lot easier to get attention, especially from adults, if you're talking about these really important issues. Um, it's definitely harder as an adult. Um, so I would just make the most of all of the opportunities that you're given.
Welcome to Raising Game Changers podcast, where we have a special guest, Wyatt Workman. Wyatt is a talented illustrator, designer, and student of Rhode Island School of Design. He has a passion for exploring the world created through entertainment design and has aspiration of filmmaking career. Wyatt has been following his passion since he was 7 years old when he created his first book and movie, Saving the Seas from the Trash Monster. We're excited to hear more about his journey, his works, and his thoughts on art and design industry. So sit back, relax, and join us as we dive into the world of Wyatt Workman.
Hi, thank you so much. That was a great intro. I feel so honored to be here. And I'm really excited to talk about what I did when I was a kid,
Mhm.
and how that inspired me to continue my interests in filmmaking. Yeah.
That is awesome because a lot of kids they always have those questions, especially when it comes to art. How, like, what my life would look like if I'll follow that passion? Because it's easier for them to see what's gonna life look like if they're gonna go into finance or lawmaking or something like that. But with art, it's always uncertainty. It's always there is that aspect of what's gonna happen with art industry, right? And you started as a kid when you were 7.
hmm Yes.
And right now, how old are you?
I actually turned 20 2 days ago.
Awesome. Happy birthday.
Yeah, it sounds really weird to say that because I still feel like I'm the same person I was back then. My interests are basically the same, but now I have all of these responsibilities as an adult that I'm still getting used to.
Yes.
So yeah. When I was that age, there were a lot of things that I don't think I was necessarily considering. I just had a passion for art making and filmmaking. Um, I wasn't certain that that's what I wanted my career to go in that direction. I think now there's a lot of things to definitely consider,
Mhm.
especially in the filmmaking industry because things are constantly changing. Um, but yeah, no, I think yeah, when I was that age, I started the project because I was just really inspired by filmmaking and how immersive that art is. Also, the culmination of so many different art practices, not just illustration, but also music and acting.
Yes.
Um, yeah, it was a really great experience.
But you also started when the technologies were not as advanced as they are today, because your first movie, it was a claymation, right? So you didn't
hmm
even had uh, a chance to make a digital movie. You basically had a claymation art, a clay art, and then you just took pictures or videos, right? From I'm not even sure what you used back then. Was it?
Yeah, yeah, it was a stop motion animation with clay.
Mhm.
Um, because yeah, at that time that's what I was really interested in. That's what I had fun with. I thought it was really therapeutic, like sculpting and making little characters. So yeah, I mean, I don't even think AI art was even a thing back then. People may have been working on it, but I never thought about it. I haven't really used it that much now. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, back then I started out with the story. Um, and then I drew various illustrations about what I want the characters to look like, and then you take that into the sculpting process. Um, I guess in pre-production, I'm talking about it like it's this big film, but like I mean, I was
But it
taking
was.
it step by step. Yeah. Um, so yeah, stop motion, just taking multiple images and then compiling them together to create motion.
Who supported your journey back then? Was it your parents, your friends? Because you also had a group of friends who helped you to do a voiceover, right? And then you had friends who actually went with you to to show those t-shirts, I'm not a trash monster. They were like super adorable. So
Yeah,
who supported, who was there for you to throughout that journey?
yeah. My parents were a huge inspiration for me. My mom was actually the person that introduced me to a lot of the issues that were happening and are still happening in the ocean, like pollution and overfishing and oil
Mhm.
spills. So that's where the project started from, is me being introduced. And then I wanted to figure out a way to not only inspire other people to talk about the issues, but inspire people who can solve the issues or are in positions of power. Um, but I wasn't. I also wanted to incorporate my art into that because I
Mhm.
feel that art it's a lot easier for people to notice you when you take a unique approach to an issue. And I had never seen anyone combine like filmmaking and animation with environmental activism at the time.
Yes.
Um, so then I started developing the story, and I wanted to antagonize, I guess, the pollution in the issue. So the trash monster kind of became a symbol for those problems.
Hmm.
Um, and I definitely, when I look back, I definitely got lost in the story about how all of the other like characters in the story interacted with each other, and how that progressed, and then the overall ending, and how I wanted to finish the project. Because the message is the most important thing, and then how people can take that into their daily lives with recycling plastics, um, and just talking to others about the issue. Because a lot of times I don't think people talk about it as much as they should.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, and then as I developed the project, I think there's a lot of issues that came up that I wasn't really expecting because I didn't even think about voice actors
Hmm.
or what I wanted to do after. So yeah, my parents helped me a lot. I'm really grateful for them. Just showing me how to edit videos. A lot for post production, putting music on top because my
Yes.
dad's a film composer, so that was really helpful. And then having all of my closest friends being open to the possibility of playing the
Hmm.
different characters. It was such a great experience, and I'm still really close with all of them, which is
Oh,
really great.
that is
So yeah, my
awesome.
close friends and my parents. Yeah,
So, can you say that that early childhood experience influenced what you are studying right now, what you are dreaming right now, what are you passionate about?
yeah, absolutely. I think that yeah, that project really opened me to the possibilities of filmmaking, um, and what they can lead to. Because at that age, I didn't really know how it was going to do or what was going to come of it. Um, I think it really helped me with public speaking
Hmm.
because there were a lot of things that came from that experience that I wasn't expecting. Like I was on news, I was on the Nate Burgess show. Um, I got all of these prizes, and at that age, that wasn't like that wasn't the end goal. Like I wasn't planning for that to happen.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it was really great because it enabled me to show my project on like a larger scale that I wasn't intending. So that's really good. And then also just the basic challenges of making a project, like getting people together, developing an idea into a finalized like product.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, and that's consistent with filmmaking process every day is trying to figure out how to get a bunch of different talented people together to focus on one project, and that's something that I'm still really interested in.
When you were working on your book, on your filmmaking as a child, you also had to face a lot of entrepreneurial challenges, like how to sell the book, how to promote the book, right? The entire monetization process of like using your art, but you also had like you also raised a lot of money to that you donated to Oceana organization, right, to support the ocean. So how was your early entrepreneurial experience when it comes to art? Because a lot of kids um, they love art, but they have no idea how to monetize it in the
Hmm.
future.
Yeah, absolutely. I think yeah, I had to deal with a lot of that after I made the project because the first idea was the film, and
Mm-hmm.
then I had the idea if I could translate that story into a book. Um, that way, all of the money that I get from that, I can give to organizations that are helping the environment, like Oceana.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, yeah, just making the book, finding a publisher, um, dealing with copyright because that's something I also like was not aware of until I started putting stuff out with my name on it. I think that's something that's also really important, especially with art.
Yep.
Um, and then also, if you're putting out a project, how do you want to how do you want to support that project, or how do you want to make people know about it? Because I ended up
Mm-hmm.
making a website for that, specifically where people could publish my book, and then also other products like T-shirts and water bottles. I also had an art show. What you were mentioning about all of my friends wearing
Yes.
the T-shirts, where I actually sold a lot of the characters that I used in the film,
Mm-hmm. So it was
and
clay.
yeah, yeah, all of these little
Mm-hmm.
clay like characters that you
Yes.
see in the movie. I ended up selling those as well.
You use the same website, right? The one you have today. But
Yeah, yeah. I'm in the middle of transitioning.
because
Um,
recently I was talking to kids at my Kid Entrepreneur Club, and I was using you as example how you solved the problem of the ocean through art. And then I went to the website and I was just about to purchase your book. And I realized that you no longer that little boy that I was talking
yeah.
about. You already
hmm
grown up, and that was incredible to see the entire journey of that little Wyatt with a trash monster on his T-shirt to a grown man who's still following his passion in art and filmmaking. And that's probably the main message I want to convey to kids: to follow your passion, and you'll find your way, right, to through all the obstacles and challenges, and you'll find people who'll support you, and that's incredible. uh, but as a student of art right now, do you see the difference between 10 years ago and today, when there is a mid journey out there, AI art, and there are a lot of artists that actually boycotting this AI art, and there is a hashtag support human art throughout the social media?
hmm Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming to say the least about how fast this technology is progressing. Um, and I think yeah, the process of art making is also changing. I think the
Mhm.
definition of art is changing. Um, back then, like I didn't like consider that at all. That wasn't a part of the art making process for me. So yeah, I think the main thing that's changing is just the process of developing art is completely different now, um, because it's a lot easier for people to visualize images. It's extremely efficient, and it's also really accessible, which I think is a good thing. But it also takes away human touch, which is something that I think you can definitely see with what I was doing. Because I think the reason that I was able to stay with that project for so long is because I was passionate about the process of really developing the characters. Um, and with AI art, you can still develop your own ideas, but the process of actually creating them kind of take goes away, which is what I was really interested in. If that
Mhm.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, that's actually interesting. I've heard a lot of artists, they can prompt their name in Midjourney, and Midjourney gives their art to people. And
hmm
basically, what happened is why they a lot of artists upset is because they kind of losing rights to their own art. So, what's
hmm
your take on that? Have you tried to prompt your own name?
Yeah, I haven't. I heard I think Corridor Digital was talking about this a little because they're also on YouTube, and they're experimenting with AI. I think it's really interesting. That's how I learned about it in the first place.
Hmm.
Um, they were saying that you can relate the process of AI or the system to just a large library of images, and you scroll through these images until
Yep.
you find the image that fits your idea.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that makes it a little bit simpler with explaining the process of how the art is actually created. Because the compositions themselves are original, but it's just a culmination of so many different images. Um, and yeah, I think it's also important to note that a lot of the art images that are being created with AI take inspiration from other artists in the first place,
Yep.
like certain styles of artists, and then apply that to an image. Um, so yeah, it's really hard because now, since it's so easy to find images, especially on the internet, it's hard for people or artists specifically to hold on to their own work without it being taken by someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I guess I don't know, a way that I guess I've kind of avoided this is I post some of my work on Instagram, um, but I don't know, I'm not publishing it as often as some of these other artists on Instagram are.
Yep.
Um, and I think I'm very careful when I am posting something because I want to make sure that it's completely mine, it has my name on it, and I'd be okay with someone else taking it in a way if I know it's mine.
Ah, that's interesting. So it might change the way artists communicate right now. Like it's used to be that they post a lot, right? And now they probably gonna hold on to that.
Hmm.
I never thought about
Yeah,
that aspect.
yeah. I think yeah. Also, yeah. Digital art's also become extremely prominent in the last couple years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so maybe if there's a way where when you post something digitally, you can still have like your stamp of approval. That's it's yours specifically, and then that restricts it from being used in these other systems. Like I know Dolly's a big one for AI art. Um,
Yes.
yeah, because I think the images in there have to be open to the public. So if there's a way to restrict the use of the images that you're posting, that could also be a way to kind of restrict people using your style.
Mm-hmm. But what shocked me, like personally, when I discovered AI art, is that if that's the beginning, is if basically if that's the first or second version, right? Right now, it basically has all the art that was ever uploaded on the internet. But at some point, AI will have an ability to learn, right? And produce or create art itself. And at that point, do you think is it possible that AI will replace humans or it will just enhance humans' capability in terms of art?
Hmm. Yeah, I think yeah, that's an incredible question. Um, yeah, it's pretty crazy to think about because like I feel like even a year ago, like this
Yeah.
wasn't really as prominent as it is now. Um, so it's kind of hard to really know the implications of the way art making is going to be in the future. I feel like it should it could either be used as a full substitute for like the art making process because it has that capabilities. Um, but it could also be used specifically as a tool to enhance the process. Because I know there's forms of AI art with visual effects, um, specifically in relation to like rotoscoping or when you're developing like a digital model of a character
Mm-hmm.
and then attaching that to an actual actor. I think Avatar is a really great example with motion capture.
Yep.
The way a computer can learn how to apply a digital character that an artist sculpted and actually made onto an actor. So in that way, it's still completely original and it has the human touch. Um, I think it's just really dependent on what artists want to do,
Mm-hmm.
um, and also what audiences want to see. Because I know for me personally, I was extremely inspired by filmmaking and art making because I could see the human touch in it. I could see the passion, and that's what drove me to create my own product. And I was also really interested in the full process of making the art. Um, I mean, yeah, when I look back, that was like some of my best memories were actually making the film, and then all the boring stuff about publishing came after. Um, so yeah, I think it's just dependent on how artists want to create art in the future because I think that these technologies are going to progress even faster. So I don't
Yes.
know. It's kind of scary to think about.
But at the same time, do you see the difference? For example, like at the you right now um, studying at the college, right? So do you
Hmm.
see the difference when how you've been taught, what you guys talk about, like what are the professors or like designers, what are they talking about in terms of like did the process of learning changed or it's still the same? How do they
Hmm.
prepare you guys for the future in terms of art, AI, and whatever is coming?
Hmm. Yeah. Um, that's also interesting because a lot of the teachers that I have worked in the industry, but they
Hmm.
worked at a time when a lot of the technology wasn't even possible. I'm majoring in illustration, so especially in my field, I'd say 90% is all done with digital medium. But back then, it was all completely traditional. So a lot of the professors are kind of learning along with us about the implications of these technologies. I think it's extremely important for students to know what's out there and understand these technologies because especially when you're in the field, people will reference them or people will be using them. And I think it's really good to know like those implications, like especially with AI art, because now it's kind of hard to kind of tell the difference at times.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think they're not emphasizing it as much as I hope they would. But I mean, there's a lot of information online about it. But yeah, I think that it's still important for professors to teach students a lot of traditional skills because that's what really matters. I think, especially with the film industry.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you take on Avatar 2? Did you like it? Did you watch
Oh, I
it?
loved it. Yeah, I was pretty blown away by the visuals. It was extremely immersive. Um, and yeah, I mean that's another clear reason why I'm interested in being in the film industry. Because I really admired how they were able to create such a large and vast world while still focusing on that family dynamic. Um, and also bringing in those environmental issues
Hmm.
with like over like hunting whales and stuff like that. I thought it was really great. But yeah, that film has so much advanced technology in it and the way they
Yeah.
were able to create those visuals. A lot that I don't even understand how they work. Um, but they're still being done by visual effects artists. So in that way, it's still definitely a human touch. Yeah.
That's awesome because I haven't watched Avatar 2 myself. So now
Hmm.
I'm still looking forward because I've heard different reviews for second movie. It's like some people loved it and some people basically hate it. And I wasn't sure
Hmm.
why. It's like I wasn't sure. Is it because it was a second one and first one it was just new in terms of technologies, in terms of like the way they produce movie, or it was just I don't know. I'm looking forward to watch it.
Yeah, I was a little confused. I was a little confused by that too. I think, yeah, I really admire how they're like developing a full world because that's what I was trying to do
Hmm.
when I was working on my project. Um, and their message also about it all being related back to our oceans and our environments is also it's really incredible, and the reach that the film has had has been absolutely huge. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. That's just me. I really liked it.
I'm looking forward to
Hmm.
watch it. It's interesting. The reason why I ask a lot of questions about AI is that My 8-year-old, he just published a book using AI art.
Mm, cool.
So he wrote the book, but illustrations for the book, he used Midjourney.
Okay.
So, and it was interesting to see how fast he was able to make the book versus like probably something that would take him a year. He was able to do it in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting how proficient writers, creators of any sort can be these days, because now something that took you longer, you can produce it much faster, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, the process is completely different. That's really cool. And I think another interesting question is if those art or if those advanced tools were a thing back then when I was creating my project, would I have used them? Um, which is I don't yeah, I mean honestly, I don't even I'm not really certain. I was really I was really interested in the process of developing the characters, and also what I was focusing on was very physical. Like I barely used any digital editing tools even when I was editing the film.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think, yeah, in terms of visualizing ideas very quickly, I think that is a benefit of AI art. And it allows a lot of people to really like develop an idea very quickly, which I think is really cool. Yeah.
That is awesome. So, what are the projects you're working right now?
I am currently studying illustration at the Rhode Island School of Design. And illustration as a major is extremely broad. There's a lot of avenues that you could take with that major, which I think is really interesting for me. Because I think it's really important to have a lot of options, especially in the career of art.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also, I think it's important to really develop a lot of skills, especially for the film industry. Um, so yeah, I'm doing some illustrations for some other books that my friends are making, which is really great. Um, I've been working on a couple films as, like, I guess you'd say a production designer, which has been really enjoyable. Um, because in high school, I went to an art high school. And there were departments in film, departments in music and acting, which was really great because I was able to make a lot of friends who were so talented but in completely different fields. And then being able to collaborate with them was really enjoyable, especially with the films because that's what I'm really interested in. Um, so yeah, just studying illustration, doing some book illustrations. Yeah.
Did you try acting yourself?
Oh man. Wow. Oh yeah, a lot's happened since second grade. I personally did not try acting in high school. I did a little acting when I was in seventh grade because I was in an acting class. Um, and that was really fun because I got to play different characters with friends, and I don't know, it's a good memory. I was in a little play. Yeah.
um, a lot of people ask usually about successes, like what people achieve. But I usually ask my son personal, like he's 8 now. I usually ask him, what was your biggest failure? Like, what was your most embarrassing moment that you actually learned a lot and grow as a person? So I want to ask you the same. What was your most embarrassing moment that um, you were able to learn, grow, and became who you are today, basically?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I think I've got a lot of moments to think of. Man. Um, like I was saying earlier, I think when I was making the project specifically, I didn't really have in mind like the implications of what I could do if if it got like a lot of like attention. Um, so I think, yeah, there were a lot of things that I ended up doing that really stressed me out, especially in relation to public speaking, like being on the news and going on all of these shows and talking about my piece. Because I don't know, I would say I'm more of an introvert than an extrovert. So I can remember a lot of moments where I just didn't want to didn't want to deal with all of that. So I think there were, if at that age I had realized um, how how much attention I was getting and how I could use that to tell people about the environmental issues, I could have continued being on all of the news places and all of these shows. I think I kind of, I guess, cut myself off a little bit because I didn't want to deal with that,
Mhm.
especially at that age.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I would just say, especially for kids, it's a lot easier to get attention, especially from adults if you're talking about these really important issues. Um, it's definitely harder as an adult. Um, so I would just make the most of all of the opportunities that you're given, um, and make sure that you're surrounded by people who really care about you and who support you. Um, because I couldn't have done what I did if I didn't have that. Um, and collaboration was also extremely important. But yeah, in terms of a specific memory, I don't know. Um, wow. Yeah, I would say just the anxiety that I went through before going on the news shows because I'd never done anything like that before. Um, it was a lot to take. It was a lot to take. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
But when
mean,
I look back, I think, yeah, the actual process of making the film, that was extremely enjoyable. Um, and yeah, I would recommend. I would recommend making a project. Yeah.
awesome. So, can you share any advice for young people who want to make a difference in the world through their art, creativity, project, or for those who want to solve problem in the world? What advice would you give?
Hmm. I would say that it's extremely important to be passionate about what you're doing, um, regardless of what the project may be. Um, that's a really great place to start, um, because my project was built out of me being introduced to these issues, especially in the environment that I had never known before. Um, and I think it was easy for me to make the project because I loved what I was doing, and I was really interested in the process. Um, I would also, like I said, it's a lot easier to go through with projects if you collaborate with others who are also passionate and who support you. Um, because it was just a really great experience to have help because doing it all on your own can be really scary.
Yep.
And there's a lot of things to consider, especially if you're making a product. Um, yeah, I think, yeah, if you're putting out a piece of art that it's going to be viewed for like a very large audience, I think it's really important that you are proud of your work and you are passionate about the message. Because again, it would have been impossible for me to go on all of those news shows if I wasn't really passionate about what I was talking about.
Mhm.
Um, and I would also say to be open to new possibilities. Um, because I wasn't even considering a book until after I made the film. So in a way, it was kind of impossible for me to know at that time what I was going to do after the film. Um, so I think just being open to using new skills, putting yourself in situations that maybe would make you uncomfortable, um, it's always good because there will be things that come from that that you would never have known.
Yeah, there are always great things come from uncomfortable zone.
Yeah, Yeah.
That's for sure. So, if you would be 7 years old today, with all your experience you have today, what would you make different?
Mm. Oh man. Um. Wow. I think, yeah, I probably at that age I probably would have continued going on shows and talking about my work. Um, I think just like riding that wave, especially then, I definitely would have continued that. Um, I also had other things that were on my mind with school, so it was pretty hectic. Um, wow. I think um, I would I'm actually in the process now of changing my publisher for my book. That's why it wasn't on the website when you're looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think continuing to make sure that you're putting out your product is also extremely important. And that's something that I stopped a little bit. Um, Man, I think I had some ideas soon after I finished the first film for like sequels or other projects. So I think if I went back now, it would be really interesting to see where that could go.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, just continuing it.
Awesome. I uh, I I'm glad that we had a chance to talk, and I'm looking forward to see other projects you're gonna make, and I'm gonna follow your journey. I'm curious what's gonna happen in the industry and how a lot of artists how they will adapt into to new technologies and also to anything that life brings.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you
I'm
so much.
truly honored. Thank you for reaching out. I think it's crazy to think that something I did back then is still having an impact.
Yep.
Because again, that's something I never would have known back then.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I'm glad to still spread the message about the importance of protecting the environment. Um, and I plan to continue that into the future with whatever I do in the film industry. Yeah.
That is great. And once your book is going to be available, please let us know. So you can just
Absolutely.
shoot me an email, and I'll spread the word too. Because um, it's also it's also amazing to see the difference between what kids are doing today with the digital art, with drawings on iPads, and what you did. It happened only 10 years ago or like 15 years ago, right? But
Hmm.
the difference is huge in technologies, in opportunities, what it can give you. And I feel like even today, kids have more opportunities to spread their message because of all the social media.
Hmm.
And it's growing because when you started, it's just started, right? The technologies, it was like the beginning of iPhones, YouTubes, Facebooks. It was just the beginning.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's a really great point. I think, yeah, it's important for kids to know how easy it is to put their stuff out there, um, but to also know how enjoyable like the actual process of art making is if you are using AI. Because I think again, it's just a tool. It's a different tool to put out your message or to put out your product. Um, so yeah, it's pretty crazy. I haven't done that much AI myself. But I plan to experiment with it just so I can know the possibilities and how that could improve my own work or my own process of making. Um, but I think yeah, it is really important to make sure that when you're developing your own art, it's coming from you, and that you have your touch on it or your personal, unique view on it. I guess if that makes sense.
Yes. And last question. Have you tried NFTs? Because I feel like NFTs are coming very useful to protect your own art in the world of AI we live in today. Because
Mhm.
it's a good protection tool for artists. in terms of
Yeah.
copyrights?
Yeah, I haven't done that much. I think when I was talking about like putting your name on a digital piece, I think NFTs is a really great example.
Mm-hmm.
I personally haven't, but I have a lot of friends that have. Actually, one of my friends who's at college, he's um, working with NFTs with the company, which is really cool. Um, so yeah, I haven't, but I think yeah, that is a really great way to put your name on a digital piece of work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then also the uniqueness of that, like I guess digital document. I just don't fully understand, but um, yeah, it's a way of putting like your own ownership onto something that's digital. Um, so yeah, I may experiment with NFTs. Who knows?
Okay, let us know.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what's gonna happen. All right.
Hmm.
Thank you so much, Wyatt. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to have you. And I'm gonna share this message. I'm gonna spread this message with kids, with parents, and with the rest of our audience.
Thank you so much. Thank
Thank,
you.
thank,
Happy that we were able to talk. Yeah.
thank you.
I want to keep helping the ocean so it is still there when I grow up.
Everyone needs to help. We can save the ocean.